Welcome to Nayfee Paints. In this video, I'll be showing you step by step how I made my power core from Platicard and other random bits. This was easily my toughest build to date and quite time consuming, but I'm super happy with the end result and it'll make a great centerpiece for my gaming table. With that, let's crack in. So just going over all the bits I used for the build, some Platicard sheet and rods, some 5mm foam board, some of the pieces from a dollar store Jenga game, these black grill pieces, the plasma globe itself, some 3D printed bits, random bits from my bits box, some old electrical wire, the leftover sprue, my old super glue lids, some of this flyer wire trimming, a couple of little cogs, and a few other random bits. Some of the items you see in the photo I actually don't use on the build, so you can just ignore these. Before I began building, I just quickly sketched out what I wanted to achieve from this model. As you can see in the picture here, it's a lot more detailed than what it ended up being. Even with the final model a lot different to the original sketch. Having the sketch there helped me just plan ahead as I was going along. I'm happy with the end result, and it's pretty close to what I wanted. So the first thing I did, using 4 square Platicard rods, and with a piece of Platicard, cut it to size, and with a little super glue, just join all these pieces together. And this will form a nice base for my build. The original idea for this build was to be able to remove the plasma globe if possible, just in case I cracked it or it died in the future. I couldn't achieve this goal, so I just decided to go with, as long as I can replace the batteries, I'll be happy. To make sure I had the ball centered, I measured 4 markings from the edges, set the ball on top of these markings, and then traced around it. Next step was to cut some poles out of the Platicard for each corner, and then put an angle on top of each pipe. To build up the center, I used some cardboard. When I cut this length of cardboard, I made sure to leave a little bit of a gap where I could get to the switch. I also adjusted the height of the cardboard, and then glued this into place with some super glue. Now to finish building these corner brackets, I've cut to size and glued into position a piece of Platicard rod onto the cardboard. This piece was also angled the best I could to match the outer angle, and with a third piece of Platicard rod, I've run this between the 2 poles to make myself a nice little corner bracket. To make a little space where the on and off switch can get accessed, I used 4 pieces of Platicard rod, cut these to varying sizes, angled these like before, and glued these into position. Now it's time to build these arms or pylons that come up around the model. So I'm just going back to my plan here again, having a quick look. While not exactly what I sketched out, having a little plan here in front of me makes this a lot easier. I made the pylons out of foam board, so I cut 3 equal sized pieces. Worked on one piece until I had the shape I liked, then just copied that onto the other 2. The bottom of the pylon wasn't wide enough for my liking, so I just added another little piece of foam board. With the foam board pylons cut out, I then covered these over with sheets of Platicard. This took me a really long time to do, but the end result I'm very happy with. Now to start building out the panels. This was the worst part of the entire build, due to not thinking about the design I went for. With the circle on the inside, the triangles at each corner, and the flat front, plus I cut these little poles where the switch goes a little bit smaller. With all these different factors, these panels were a nightmare to cut and glue into position. While happy with the end result, it just took forever to do, drove me insane, and I'll be sticking to nice flat square panels in the future. The first thing to do is glue the vertical piece in, so I've measured, cut, and glued this down. Next was to cut myself a piece of Platicard to run around the center here. This will form the inner walkway. Then mark out and cut myself a piece for the top, glue this down and clean up any overhang I might have. While making this model, I do these panels in sections, as they were so tedious, I got tired of them, moved on to something else, and then came back to do other panels. Now I'm going to put in the pylons. So to do this, I pre-measured where they're going to be, made sure they were nice and even, and using super glue, glued them into position. The next piece to glue on was this little decoration at the front here. This particular piece here is off a Land Raider kit. Because I want to glue the square edge onto a round area, I've had to put a piece of Platicard on the top, shape this so it fits into position nicely, Then I run a piece of this flywire screen piping, and this will represent a cable powering the machine. And with a couple of pieces of off-cut Platicard sheeting, I've cut these to shape and glued these into position to tidy up the sides. Here I'm just putting on the final piece of the paneling, and with this nightmare behind me, I can enjoy the rest of the build. That's all the hard work done on the build. Now it's time to add all the detail in and really make this model stand out. Instead of riveting this entire model, I want something different. So to cover up a lot of these gaps where I've tried to put these plates, I've used some really thin hobby masking tape and got around the entire model, putting the tape over all the joins. When it's painted up, this will look like a nice big weld or a plate put over the top and hide any mistakes I might have made when I was cutting the pieces. To seal the tape in and stop it peeling off, I've gone over all the tape with some super glue, really thin coat of the super glue, just enough to harden the tape and stick it down firmly. For some detail, I want to put some like coolant ducts or whatever these could be. The first being this black grill piece, I cut it to size and I mounted this on a little piece of square foam, which was made the same way I did the pylons. The second little coolant vent things, we're using triangular Platicard rod. I've got a strip of this, cut a few pieces to length, and then glued these into position, bordering them off with some square Platicard rod. The next thing was to make myself a small set of stairs, allowing access on and off the power core. A little link will pop up now on the screen so you can click on that and go and see how I made these. Using some more weapons off a Land Raider kit. These come in two halves. So on both sides of the pylon, I've stuck one of the halves. And around the inner ring of the model, I've stuck some Gundam kit vents. And on the rear pylon here, I've stuck two pieces of this big clear tubing, a couple of pieces of off-cut sprue, and two of these little golden things. I have no idea where these came from. Also on other parts of the model, I've stuck some random 3D printed bits. I've used these Necron guns to represent little lasers coming out of the side. Like the energy would be coming out of these onto the core, or it's being held in by these. I've got no idea how this would work, but it looks cool. The final steps were just to add some more piping to the model, a couple of wires here and there, a few of these power cell things on the back, and a couple of valves around the model. And with that, the power core is built and ready for a coat of paint. Power in the Hive City is back online. Thanks for watching Nayfee Paints. If you liked the video, please click the sub button or leave me a like. If there's anything you'd like to see in a future video, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Catch ya.